This is How Much Does It Cost to Run Formula D with Josh Robinson. Logo. Alright, I couldn't afford a logo, that's not real. But why Josh is here is because each time I try to interview someone, I try to figure out what is unique to that person and what they can tell us, instead of him plugging a bunch of sponsors no one cares about. So,
Tri-Ace Magnuson.
You can't say Tri-Ace here. Yeah. Okay. So, what happens basically is he is uniquely qualified because he's a detail-oriented man that's very intelligent, runs a business, did all of this stuff of shipping his sport ute here to America to run Pro 2, runs a beautiful program, has a beautiful trailer, has a beautiful truck, has a beautiful physique. He knows all this stuff. So what he's gonna do is he's just gonna walk around the pits with us for a few minutes and just tell us, while we listen to the background noise of generators, how much we think each car costs to do. And we're not gonna use his because he knows, and I don't want him to cry on our show. So we're gonna do other people's. Let's go.
I don't know if I want to play this game.
What?
It's a fun game.
Because my mum will see this video and the numbers that I told her will suddenly not stack up.
Alright, are we ready? She won't see this video. Alright, this is the Greddy team. I'll have to superimpose their car, but it's an FRS, that's a 2JZ, that's turbo, it's a 3.4 liter motor. They went through 5 3.4 liter JZs in one season. 5. They have a truck that just looks like it's a company truck. They have a trailer that looks like it's a company trailer. So they don't have huge expenses, but they do have to pay a professional driver, I would guess $40,000 a year or something. And they have to probably get free tires, but for the rest of it, they have to hire girls for their booth, which are $250 a day probably. They have to go across the country. They have to pay a truck driver who has DOT numbers on the truck and everything. How much do you think it costs to do 7 events and that setup for that car for the year? With 5 motors and all the replacement parts and a crew of 5 people, but they don't have to ship it internationally.
I guess it depends on sponsorships and things like that. Obviously, Greddy don't have
we're not worried about the
like
sponsorship. Real money is spent, whether it's a sponsorship or not. So we're just worried about the overall cost. I know they recoup it and I know they make money. All we're curious is the real cost to run that team, do you think? You got 10 seconds.
It couldn't be under $500,000 a year.
Okay, $500,000?
It couldn't
Next
be.
one, let's go. Oh, how much do you think Chelsea's E46 costs to run per year?
150 grand.
That's pretty close.
Really?
All right, yep, let's go. Chelsea will tell you those numbers. He's not shy. All right, here's the good one. All right, we're about to turn the corner side. 2, Team Worthhouse. They run 2 S15s. One has a professional ringer driver, the best in the world that's winning the series. They have a massive booth. How much does the awning cost on that? 30 grand?
Yeah, 30, 40 grand.
30 grand for the tent that's attached to the goddamn trailer. The cars are the most successful cars in the world right now. They run 3 of them. So when you think about this, Josh, that's 2 cars that had to be built from scratch. I heard they built 2 370Zs for the team and they didn't work out. So they had to build 4 cars for 2 drivers for just this year's series. Plus they have the Viper.
And air freight them from Europe.
And air freight them, which is $40,000 per car, correct?
Yeah, I think maybe. I don't know. I've never been baller enough just to.
How much is a first class ticket from Europe? $12,000 probably? For a human. So we're talking 40 grand per car for air freight. How much do you think? 3-car team, 3 drivers, half a dozen models, 18-wheeler and everything. What do you think?
Definitely north of 7 figures.
Over $1 million.
Over $1 million, for sure.
Okay, it has to be. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Okay, how much over? This one's so easy to get wrong because all the people there could have flown in first class. It could be $50,000 of plane tickets per thing. But I also hear they own their own jet. No, I'm not joking. They own their own jet. So it could cost upwards of $60,000 to $70,000 per flight, but everybody fits in the same flight. Do you know how much private flights cost, like jets cost to fly around?
I have a little bit of idea.
How much?
From where to where?
from Europe, from wherever they are in Europe, to here?
Probably be around 100.
$100,000 for a flight?
If you had your own fuel, if you were renting a jet, it'd be a couple $100,000.
Okay, no, they own their own jet, so it's more probably. Okay, so we might be so far off on
You're
this.
talking to like a poor dirtbag drifter here. These numbers just mean nothing to me.
Yeah, okay, so it's north of $1 million. Let's do at least one more. Fun. This is a great example. You've got Stefan Papadakis, one of the best pit crews in the world. He has to make good money. So you know the crew chief has to make at least 200 grand a year. The driver has to make at least 100 grand a year. The car, obviously it's all being paid for by a big sponsor. Beautiful car. That car has to cost more than 100 grand to build. Do you agree?
For sure.
More than 150 grand to build?
Maybe around there.
So how much do you think this team costs to run for one car? Remember, the driver has to come from Europe for every event, as well as probably his hot girlfriend, who they're gonna fly, or his Tinder girl. So how much do you think that thing costs?
I think two of the other ones, probably half to three quarters.
$500,000 to $750,000 for this team?
The thing is that my impression of these guys, they run a pretty tight ship. They don't mess around, and
Yeah.
like they're not excessive. Like they don't have a big.
They
like,
blow a
10-car
motor
hauler.
sometimes every practice session.
Yeah, I know. But see, again, with that, it's sponsorship. Like, are you including that in?
Yes, we are, because we're including how much the team consumes, if you know what I mean.
At
So the team
retail.
consumes something. Yeah.
At retail, though.
Okay, whatever, but sure. At retail.
Yeah, I think that like they run a really tight operation though, compared to some of the other teams that have these massive 3 and 4 car haulers for one team.
Yeah.
There's enough Pro 2 teams out there that have probably dropped $1 million on their setup in terms of car, transport, and everything else. So I actually really respect the way that these guys run their show because it's not excessive.
There's no frills.
Everything's an essential. It's beautifully set up. They do a great job and they get good results.
Yeah.
But they don't, to me at least from the outside, don't go crazy with it. Like everything's an essential and it's run to a budget. I have a lot of respect for the way they do their things.
All right, next one, let's go. Let's get away from this generator setup. And then we'll let you back. This is the last one. We have no generator noise. This production quality is gonna be, whew, it's gonna be good. All right, we got a stacker. We got a Pro 2 team though. So you'd think it's cheap. These were mast motors or whatever, so I think they're 60 to 80 grand a motor.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh shit. That's US
per
dollars.
car.
That's like 2 years salary back in Australia.
Yeah. Per car. The cars are very nice. I understand there's like sponsored wheels and all that kind of stuff on those in their Pro 2 cars, but they're still traveling with a lot of stuff. So if you just count each car has to be north of 150 grand probably, because the V8s and stuff get very expensive quality V8s. They're incredibly expensive. So you have about $300,000 of just cars that were built primarily just for this. And if they were gonna do Pro 1, you know, they'll probably build all new Pro 1 cars. And they weren't built for Pro-Am, you know what I mean? So these are just Pro 2 cars that get them, you know, however far. What do you think?
The fun part is to work out, there's 4 events. At Orlando, we had about 2 minutes of track time. So work out that divided by how many minutes of track time. That's a number you don't want to know.
Here, wait. It's really loud. So, if you calculate out each year, or let's say that conservatively costs $400,000 for that team, for those setups, for all that, you don't recoup the money. Some of it might be sponsored and it might not all come out of their pocket, but let's say 400 grand to run something like that. If you're at 400 grand and you do 4 events, that means each event is $100,000. And if you only do 2 laps at that event, that means it's $50,000 a lap. Is that right? That is 2 cars though, that's a deal.
I mean, the way that we look at it is all of your running costs between events, and then obviously when you're at the actual event, flights, meals, accommodation for all of you guys, We typically have an Airbnb or something like that, and then everything that breaks in between. So between the last 2 rounds, my engine had to be rebuilt, the gearbox, clutch, diff. So all of that is outside costs from an actual race weekend.
Yeah.
So you can't really look at it in terms of a race weekend costs us 15 grand, because it's not. Like, the race weekend for us this year was only 4 times. Well, I've been in America for 9 months so far this year, living in hotels at friends' houses, driving 30,000 miles around the country. So it's a very difficult one to say, hey, a race weekend is going to cost you this.
Yeah.
At an event like Orlando, I got 6 practice laps, and a practice lap took, I think, about 15 seconds. So I got 6 of those. What's that? A minute and a half. And then I had a top 16 battle, top 8, and top 4. So 3 battles at 30 seconds each. So there's a minute and a half. What I said before, a minute and a half. So we've got 3 minutes total track time at that event. And even if you excluded all of the other costs, there's your $15,000, which some people throw at the event cost. So you're looking at what, $7,500 US per minute of track time, excluding the build cost, running costs, everything else.
That's crazy.
And that's entry level.
And I was going to say, the things that people don't realize, again, is you lived in the United States for however many months, at how much a day for a hotel or for whatever, and you have a crew, because you can't do this for yourself. You're not even allowed to drive without a spotter and without a pit crew. So you are at minimum 3 people in as helpers at each event, and because you need to count on people so they don't just like, oh bro, I didn't show up, I didn't feel like it. He's flying friends in so they can understand as Australian, because otherwise you can't understand. I'm gonna subtitle you for this. And you're in it triple what normal people would think, because you have to feed those guys, you have to pay them. He's got a media guy. Woo! That means, how big is your crew? 4 people?
Yeah, but then we have additional guys that will come in, locals. Like we had William for this event, and Andy Seehausen as well, so on top of my core guys.
So you're dealing with 4 people eating 3 meals a day. So what's the cost of that? What's 4 times 3? 12 meals a day. How many days is a weekend? 5 days, really, when you think about it?
We typically get here the weekend before, so we've got the Monday, Tuesday for prep, and then Wednesday we move into the venue, Thursday, Friday is the event, and then Saturday we stick around as a reward for the guys.
Okay, so that's like 10 days then?
No, it'd be a full week, 7 days.
Okay, 7 days times 12 meals per day to feed the crew. What is that?
Well, we cook,
80 or something?
well, like
84?
Yeah, I mean, we cook
Size
at home a
Asian, you
little
should
bit.
do it for us. Yeah, thank you. Way to live up to your stereotype.
Yeah, like we'll cook at home a little bit, but like we've had a few meals out, and like that's always a minimum of like $400
Per meal?
if we go out for dinner with the whole team. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So that means he's spending sometimes in the hundreds of dollars per meal to feed all the guys at 84 meals. You don't even think about the food. So what is that for food? $5,000 or something per event? That can't be right.
No, it'd be probably $1,000 for the week.
You just said it was $400 a meal.
If we go out for dinner.
Oh, so you don't feed your guys out. You just like raw men packing them.
Yeah, there's a little.
If they do well, they get the seasoning packets. Toss them a seasoning packet.
The shitty Walmart, like $2.89 healthy choice meals.
Your Tinder girls won't go in for that. You sneak out and take them out to dinner, and the crew just like hangs back.
You'd be amazed what an accent in a foreign country can do.
Woo! He just takes the crew over to a Tinder girl's house and they cook for the whole crew. That would be like next level.
I have a funny story for you.
He's like, actually. It happened?
Yeah, so when we first came over here, I made a pact with the guys because like we didn't know anyone over here, and like we were on the road every single day, and hotels were getting expensive. It's like $100 a room a night, and so 7 nights in a week, that's $700 US, and we had 3 guys, and so we had 2 rooms, so that was what, $1,400 US per week in hotels. It's $2,000 Australian per week just in shitty hotel rooms.
Yeah.
So I said to the guys, look, here's $10, get a premium Tinder account, and if you find a girl that'll like give you accommodation, I'll give you half of what it would have cost me to put you in a hotel.
Did it work out?
Didn't see them again. That's good business management.
That's actually really good. That's how all these racers, you think they're spending 400 grand, but they really only spend 200 because they all hustle. That's Chelsea shit there. That's next level.
And they spend money on linguistics, so they can teach their teams how to speak Australian, because that helps with the girls on Tinder.
Woo! That's good.
That's smart.
All right, thank you for your time. Thank you for your expertise and team management and hustling skills. Let's go do something else, Sai. That was the easiest video ever to make. Woohoo! No editing. What? I don't know what they said. All right, thanks, Josh.